Lay's Garage YouTube channel for episode 4 of the VZ SS Turbo build. This episode we're going to install a B&M ratchet style transmission shifter into the factory location. So we'll pull the standard one out, have a bit of a look around. I'll take you through step by step on what we're going to do. I suppose your first step about putting a shifter in your car is to choose a shifter. There's so many out there, and you know, you've got the B&M Stealth, which is like the black one with the big long black handle. You know, it seems to be the new craze at the moment, but it doesn't really suit me because it seems to be too long. Then you've also got the Pro Ratchet, which is a shifter that I do like. I had one in my VL, put a couple in a couple of other people's cars too. Good shifter, but I was trying to steer away from that little red handled safety latch. I'll put some photos in of these shifters so you know what I mean. The little red safety latch is just a little extra thing that hangs out and sort of takes away from the street appeal. So what I've actually gone for is a B&M Quicksilver. Now it's a pretty old school sort of a shifter, but it's not just your average Quicksilver that you would buy. You've got to sort of search for this one. I'll sort of show you over it a bit. Now you can see here, this is the Quicksilver shifter. I've already unboxed it. You don't need to see me unwrap it all. But it's actually a lot shorter than normal. If you just go and buy a Quicksilver shifter, this will be 11 inches from the top of there, I think, to the bottom 11. Now this one's one specifically designed to fit in a Chevelle or an El Camino, and obviously I'm running a Turbo 400 gearbox, so it's to suit Turbo 400. But if you get that one there, it's actually only a 6-inch shaft, so it's a lot shorter than your average Quicksilver shifter. Now all the base here looks very similar to your Pro Ratchet or your Stealth underneath. Now the difference is it doesn't have the little red lever that you have to activate to get up into reverse and park. The way it works is the whole knob comes up and down. You pull it up and down so it gets rid of the little safety lever. You know, and that suits me fine because it's just where it's going to be positioned, it's going to look more factory. The knob being chrome with the blue is probably not my thing. I might end up just getting a plain black knob to suit the car, but thinking outside the box, this is definitely the shifter that I wanted to use. It does come off this fancy bracket that you obviously need to use for a Chevelle or an El Camino. No good to us. And it comes with a cover that must normally go over the standard console. Also no good to us. Instructions. Comes with a nice little grommet for where the shifter cable goes down through the floor, which I like that. All the hardware, micro switches, the bracket for the gearbox, nuts and bolts, self-tapping screws, everything you really need to put that in. Obviously also the shifter cable itself and instructions. Detailed instructions on how to put it into a Chevelle or El Camino, no good to us. I've done this a fair few times now, so I can take you through how to get this in there. Now, one thing I will look at, we'll have a look in the car where it's going to go before we get started pulling things apart. And the light's no good today, it's a bit overcast, but we'll focus. I just want that shifter to come up through this standard sock. So I want to keep all this here. This probably won't line up. I'll disconnect this, but at least it'll all be there and it'll light up. If our mates the police look in here, they can see that everything's still there. My traction control button will still be there. My power button will still be there. Just in underneath here, the shifter will just poke up through this standard sock. And I think if it had a nice black knob, it would probably blend in here really nice. Now if I had one of them Stealth or Pro Ratchet, I would have to have another little cutout with another little lever hanging out here, and I don't know, they're good, don't get me wrong, but it just doesn't appeal to me in this build. I just want it sort of as straight and as smooth as I can get it. So what we'll do to get started is I have to get the shifter out. Now obviously if you have watched this build, there's no engine, no gearbox in this car already, so I can already get underneath there easily. There's no gearbox, so it's all a matter of starting off. We're going to take this dash apart. Now it's just a matter of this center console bit pulls out, and I'll go step by step on how to pull it out and we'll get started. But the first thing I'll do is pull this out and expose some screws and show you where we go. Okay guys, I've got a pretty good light set up. I've got my engine bay light set up in here so we can actually have a look. First thing we've done is in there you've got the plastic little bucket that normally sits in there. That just peels out. You get your fingers in behind there and you just peel it out. Now next thing there will be a couple of screws down in there, Phillips head screws, 1, 2, take them out. And then in the back corner there's another one there, you've got to take that out as well. Then it's just a case of grabbing this and giving it a good yank and it just comes out. Now it seems pretty gnarly at first, that's what I thought I'd show you. And then you've got to actually get underneath, undo the plugs and then start working this thing out. So what I'll do is, I can't really do it one-handed, but I'll get this out and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, the main center console cover is now out. Unplug the electric window switch. Now it's going to move on to removing this side panel. To get to that side panel, you have to take the glove box out. Now all that holds the glove box in is these couple of rubber things on the inside. You can't really see that one, but that one there, you can just peel them out with your fingers. They just pull up and out, and that's the little latches that hold the. They're the little latches that hold the glove box up. Take them out both sides, and then oh yeah, you can see the other one there. Once you take both of them out, then it's just a matter of just pulling on the glove box, and it will come out. Very hard to do one-handed, but I'll get that glove box out, and we'll look at the next bit. Okay, the glove box is out. You can see what holds them in. It's just these little open clips that just push in for that glove box just to pull out. Now we have to get these side plastic panels off, and you can see there's a couple of screws there for this lower section to come off. 2 there, and also a little sneaky one in under there I've already got out, and that will expose that side panel and get that side panel off. So we'll get that out. Okay, that left side's out easy enough. Now to move over to the right side. You just pull the fuse cover straight down. It just pops down. You can pull it completely out. It's just a matter of pulling that out if you wanted to pull it completely out. But the main reason is just to expose these couple of screws here so we can get rid of this lower plastic panel. Now that one there doesn't have the sneaky screw under the bottom on this side, so it's just a matter of getting them 2 out and then it pops out. You can see that right hand side panel is now out, and now we can concentrate on doing the main part of getting this console out. Stick your fingers in behind your little coin slot holder, get that out of the way, and that exposes the 2 10mm. They're the main support for this whole center console. You will have to undo your cigarette lighter loom to pull the console out. There's your cigarette lighter, there's the plug for it. Then it's a matter of unscrewing the actual shifter off the console here, and then also where the console screws into these side sections. And that should free up the center console to pull out. I'll get all that undone and then I'll show you it coming out. With that all undone, you can see, just with a bit of an action shot, you can just lift that whole console out and sort of drag it out from underneath the front here, and it'll come up over this plastic shifter plate. I'll get that out, we'll have a look. Center console's out. Done plug this loom out of here, out of this plug here, and then also this bit of Warren loom is actually zip tied into the sides here. You can see the couple of zip clips. I just got my side cutters and cut them 2 clips. Now it's a matter of getting out of the car, jack it up. I just jacked it up under the diff, bit of a jack stand, make sure you stay safe, and then we'll hop under the car and I'll show you the bolts. Now you can see the 4 13mm bolts that you have to undo. Move that all over. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if the transmission was in, you could still get to these. You just have to reach up over the transmission and get those bolts out. Undo those 4 bolts, then you can go back up to the top. back up the top here now. Back up the top. Then it's just a matter of grabbing the shifter and pulling it straight out. You set that aside, the shifter aside, we'll come back to that. But you will need this. As you can see, we've got a massive hole in the floor, and this is where we want the shifter to sit, so grab the foam rubbery gasket that could be stuck on the bottom still, or could be left there. Grab that. Then it's just a matter of getting a scrap bit of steel or aluminium. I've got aluminium. It's a bit lighter, and then you obviously get this. Get your Sharpie or your Nico and trace around the outside of it. And this will be your new plate that we're going to bolt down to the top of the transmission tunnel. Now it's just a matter of cutting this out with a cut-off wheel. Even a jigsaw would probably do that right. I don't have one here, but I just use a real thin blade and we'll cut all that out. Alright guys, you know the deal. Earmuffs, bit of eye protection. Set yourself up a nice little flat base to cut on, and I'm outside the shed so I don't fill my shed with aluminium filings. So yeah, we'll cut this out. Now we have the basic cutout done. You can see I'm not quite on the lines, so I need to tidy that up. Change it over to the thicker grinding wheel so I can grind on the face. And it's just a matter of going around and just rounding all that off. I'll cool that off and tidy up some of the edges. Okay, you can see that has beveled all the edges off with the grinding wheel. Just ran around the edge, and then I've got some, I think it was 320 wet and dry sandpaper, and just rubbed around the edges so the edges are nice and smooth. And it's not 100% symmetrical, but it's pretty damn good, pretty quick to do. You can buy these. I think they charge $60 or $70 for them. You can see, I'm about to drill some holes in it, and you can get it done in, I'd say you get it done in 15 to 20 minutes, and probably cost you, I don't know, $5 for a scrap piece of aluminium from the aluminium shop. So it's definitely worth trying to do it yourself. So I'll move inside and we'll drill some holes in this. Back in on the bench, probably didn't say before, but I've marked where the bolt holes are, then just cross hatched them to find the centers. Now it's just a matter of center punching the center so that when you go to drill it, the drill bit doesn't walk all over the place. Give you a nice little indent so the drill bit doesn't walk. Okay, over on the drill press I have some high tensile little 8mm bolts with Nylex nuts so that the vibration won't loosen them when they're bolted to the car. I've just got a drill bit the same size, maybe the drill bit's a little bit bigger, so I've got a little bit of slop there so it fits into the holes in the floor. It's just a matter of going through and drilling these through. Now I've put the bolts through, and I've put that foam gasket underneath, and this is ready to drop on over that factory hole. So I'll drop that on, and okay, drop the plate in there. It lined up perfect first go. I did make the holes a little bit bigger than the bolt so that it had a bit of play, so you can just get it first go. I'm not going to get underneath and tighten this plate down straight away because I need to get the shifter positioned, and I really need to put the the center console back in and move this around so I know exactly where I'm going to want this shifter to sit. And once we get a good position for it, then I can drill the holes. So the next step will be to get the center console back in the car, which is console back in. I've noticed that the height of the shifter around the front here is fouling on all the plastic bucket in the center console. So what I've actually decided to do is I'm probably going to trim the actual shifter so it can slide up under there and clear everything. Now that black line that I've drawn on the side of the shifter is what I'm going to take out. Also going to chop it there so that whole top surround will actually be removed. This really is only there to mount that top cover part on, which we ain't going to use. But what I'll do is I'll take the shifter back out and put it on the bench, and we'll have a good look at where I'm going to cut and why it's actually possible, and it shouldn't affect the structure of the actual shifter. Now out on the bench you can see I've just mocked up the shifter cable setup, and you can see the top of this tang here is clearly under that line. That's some solid steel, still plenty of steel there, so just trimming that few mil off the top will give me a little bit of extra clearance that I need in the car to clear the console, and I really don't think it's going to affect the integrity of that shifter cable mount. Now the next part that's going to be cut off is this whole top piece here. You can see I'm going to cut across there and cut across the back here, and if you have a look, nothing actually mounts to it. It's just freestanding out there. This actually slides in there, there's no pivot point on the back there, so you can see straight daylight through there, so I cannot see how that is really going to make much difference to the integrity either. I suppose we'll find out, because I'm going to cut it, and if it ends up being flimsy I've wrecked a good shifter, but I truly believe that it's going to be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that. I won't set you up for that, I'll just get the grinder, cut it up, tidy it up, and we'll get back. Okay, there you have it, trimmed up, no worries. Should give us enough clearance, so we'll get back in the car there now and check to see if we've got the clearance we need. Okay guys, back in the car, and we're still not quite there. It's just still hitting on the bottom of this bucket thing here. You can see I've got gap here, it still needs to come down. So I'm going to have a bit of a think on how I'm going to trim that front down even further to clear under there, because, well, we're just going to have to make it work. So we'll get back on the bench and have a bit of a look. Okay guys, after playing around with this, I can clearly take this mounting tab now and turn it 90 degrees, and it makes no difference to the orientation of the cable. It just moves it from straight up and down over to 90 degrees, still plenty of room there, get a bolt in. So mark where the bolt goes, I'll drill that later. And you can see light's starting to get bad here, it's starting to get dark. You can see that where I'm going to trim it this time. I'm just going to take all that out to really clear that bucket in the center console. So I'll trim that out and then we'll have another look. Okay guys, cut even more. Let's get in the car there and see if that's going to make it clear. Okay guys, that's done it. You can just see in there, I've got the little light in there. The bottom of that shifter's just scraping on the bottom of that bucket, which is just right. I've actually got the console screwed down now, so it's down at the right height and it's sliding under there just right, which is really good. Now there's the possibility that I could have to trim it more right on the front here where it hits. If I need to bring it forward more, it does hit on that rail just. So you can see it just bumps into it. But I actually think that it will be forward enough that I will not have to do that. If anything, I might need to bring it back a little bit. So we have the shifter modified now that it will actually fit in there. We have to play around with the standard shifter and get that surround in there over the top of it, so we can move this around and find out exactly where it's going to sit. So let's move over onto the standard shifter and pull it apart. Okay, we've got the standard shifter up on the bench, and we really need to just keep this white and black piece on the top. We don't need the shifter base, We don't need the knob, so really we need to get this sock and this section here separated. I've never really done it before, but I know there's a clip here and there's also two clips on the back here that you got to push, and mine were extremely brittle on the front here. I've already played with it, both of them snapped. But that's not going to worry me, because this is how it actually mounts to the console. That bit there mounts that bit to the bottom, so those being broken won't worry it at all. So I'm going to push them two clips in, push the clip on the back there. That should separate the top section, and then also there's a little, I don't know if you can see it, terrible light, little hex head Allen key bolt there that should get the knob off. So I'll undo that and we'll have a look. Okay, that came apart pretty easy. That screw in the back here is actually a Torx 20, and then there was a zip tie around this lip on the inside of that boot that I just had to use side cutters and just cut the zip tie off. That slid straight off, very easy. Then it was just exactly like I said, those three clips, and this came off. So now that's free, we have to make it fit around the shifter as well, which might take some trimming. So I have been playing around with it, and you can sort of see that it's fouling on the back of the shifter there. And then the same as the front section there is hitting down on the shifter. So you can see where I put those Nico marks there, both front and back. I'm just going to trim that out. I'm actually going to use my angle grinder, it's just plastic, and just trim that out to clearance it so that this can actually sit all the way down, and it actually has to go underneath there and right down underneath there as well. So I'll give that a bit of a trim and we'll have another look. Okay, after cutting that plastic out and ginning around, having a bit of a look, it looks like it's going to clear alright, but now I'm finding that this selector, I don't know what you call it, selector indicator, is in the way, so I'm just going to quickly chop that off. No need for that, just chop it off across here, see if this boot will fit. Okay, that indicator pin I chopped off, and it looks like it's going to clear. So now I've got the console back out, because this will actually have to be mounted up from underneath. So I have to do it outside of the car, put these 4 screws in, and then try and slide that whole console back in over the shifter. So I'll screw that in there and get it in. I did have the console in there, couldn't see anything because this shifter is up inside the sock, so it's very hard for me to film, but what was happening is the front nose of the shifter was fouling just underneath the plastic rim here. So once again, a little bit more clearancing, black lines, you can see that. I'm just going to take that little slither out there, and then it should clear beautifully. We can get it back in the car and I can show you what it looks like. Okay, after that little bit more clearancing on the front, this console has dropped in perfectly over that shifter. It's all screwed down exactly to the right height, everything's in. You can see where that centerpiece screws up from the bottom here, these 4 screws. There's another 2 at the front here. You can see how it hooks up under the bottom. That's where it sits. You can just see the shifter through that little gap there. Everything's clearancing nicely. And the actual location of the shifter after playing around with it, you can see on my plate that I put in down there, that bottom, that hole there that goes through the body is actually exactly the right spot for the back hole on the shifter. So already I know where that shifter is going to be sitting. The front still can swivel around and move around a bit. I haven't got marks on the front yet, but I'll just make that parallel to my shifter plate with that back bolt in. And yeah, now I've got to take it all back apart again so I can mark that bottom plate for where the shifter goes and bolt this thing in finally. Console's back out. I've measured it so it's nice and parallel and straight in the car. Got my Nico, marked the mounting holes, another one on that side, and there you can see where the 4 bolts, that back one actually goes through the shifter. So it's just a matter of now taking the plate out, drilling those few holes and getting some bolts in, bolt this thing down. Okay, I drilled the holes and used some of the standard bolts that came in the kit to bolt the shifter to my plate, but I did upgrade the nuts to some nice Nilex nuts so they don't vibrate loose. Nothing worse than a shifter that's loose and flogged out when you're trying to use it. So that's going to be bolted down real nice. 3 bolts through the middle there, and that back corner one uses the same one that goes through the body. Now before I put this in the car, I am going to use the standard gasket underneath it to seal it, but I just ran my knife 5mm around the edge just so I can take that centre bit out. Try and keep that groove, because that groove is what seals on the lip of the hole. Give it a nice seal. It'll stop any vibrations, any heat coming through there, any noise. So yeah, take good care of this thing when you take it out and use it. Alright, I'll put this on and slide the shifter in, get ready to bolt it in. Went to drop that shifter in and ran into another hurdle. This front bolt here actually would hit the body. So all I did was just marked it and then just drilled a relief hole in there. Now the inner ring is still there for the seal to seal on, and the seal will, big flat foam bit will seal all around there, still stop any heat or noise, but yeah, just that front right hand bolt there just needed it to be clearance so that would go in. So now I can actually drop the gasket on, the bolts in, and it'll all bolt up. Okay, the shifter is in and bolted up tight, rock solid. I will give you a shot underneath when we're underneath drilling this next hole. Now the next thing we have to do is make a hole for the shifter cable to come through. It comes through here and hooks onto here. So you want this to be a nice straight line. So what I do is I just I'm lucky enough to have a pen that fits in the slot, and I just hold it in line, and then just project it forward and make a mark on the floor so you can see it's going to be nice and straight. Now you can see my little black mark that I've put up there. That's going to be the center of the hole. Now this grommet that they give you in the kit, which is awesome, is the cable passes through the dead center, so that mark we've made there will be the center of the hole saw that we will cut for this grommet to sit in. And then I can sit that grommet in nice and seal it up nice, put the shifter cable through. So we are going to have to get underneath, because obviously all the dashes here you can't get the drill in there, so we have to get the underneath and drill up. And this grommet is the whole reason why the motor and gearbox is not in this car yet. Waiting to put this shifter in and this grommet, then the motor and gearbox, we can work on putting that in. Here we are under the car. I'll just explain to you that I transferred the position of that mark where that grommet's going to go off these ribs. It was quite convenient that these couple of ribs were there, so I can just measure the 20mm over and 5mm forward, and that's how I get the position of that mark to match up with the top. Now I've got the correct size hole saw. I'm just going to buzz that up through there. Absolutely impossible for me to hold it and drill it or to set something up, so I'll just get it done and we'll come back. Okay, hole drilled, easy enough. Now you can see that it's on a little bit of a lip there and it's on a bit of a rise there, so we'll see how we go putting that grommet in to follow that. Might be able to heat that rubber grommet up with a heat gun and get it to follow that shape. If not, I might get under here and just tap this, panel beat this a little bit more flat, but we'll give it a go. You can also see the underside of that plate, all my bolts, the foam seal, it seals it all in, so yeah, a bit of a look from underneath. head back to the top and get that grommet in. Grommet went in, no drama. Good quality grommet that they supply. Just popped it in, pushed down nice and hard, and you can see it just follows the contours of the floor. It's perfect. So now I'm going to throw the shifter cable through and get that sorted. Okay, quick look with the grommet in and the shifter cable through. You can see that grommet. Yep, focus. That grommet follows the floor quite well. So it seals it up nice, comes through the middle, and this will end up snaking around onto the gearbox. Obviously I can't show you the gearbox part of it yet because there's no gearbox. But yeah, you get the idea. Down here is all done. So now I can give you a look at finishing up the top. Okay guys, you can see the grommet sits in there nice from the top here. Shifter cable's all bolted in sideways, which is, it's normally straight up and down, but we had to trim the bracket, if you remember. Cotter pin's on, or split pin, whatever you want to call it. It's on the shifter. I also mounted up the micro switches for the neutral safety switch and the reverse lights. Now obviously I haven't got the wiring for this yet because my wiring guy is going to do that in the engine loom. And yeah, I just actually took the opportunity to get the vacuum out and just vacuum all the filth that's out underneath this console while it's out, because I'm about to put the console in and I don't think I'll be taking it out anytime soon. So good opportunity to vacuum all the stuff out. The guy that owned this car before me obviously ate in the car because there was chips and disgustingness everywhere. So this is ready for the console to go back in. I also took the opportunity just to wipe it all down and compressed air, blow all the food and whatever out around the shifter and tidy it all up. So now I'll lower that shifter in over the top and start reassembling. Okay, lowered the console in. 2 10mm bolts or nuts onto the studs back in the bottom of the console. We can drop the coin cover back in. Replugged in the cigarette lighter plug and also put back in the traction control and the power button loom, plug that back in. Still plenty of room around the shifter for that. Just threw the knob on real quick, doesn't look too bad so far, and the 2 screws at the front. Next thing is to drop the fascia cover on, a couple of screws in there, I'll show you after it's in, and the side covers. Okay, I've finished putting everything back together and give everything a bit of a clean up, have a bit of a look. And I'm really happy with how it turned out actually. Everything's back together. Fascia panels in, it just pops in. The opposite of what we took out, side panels go in, a couple of screws underneath the glove box. Same as the other side, a couple of screws underneath the fuse box, but yeah, it looks fantastic. It's exactly how I want it. So I'll get you set up so I can actually show you how that shifter works. I'll get you set up on a tripod. Okay guys, that's currently in park where it is there now. It's locked in, you can't actually move that backwards and forwards. To move it anywhere, you have to actually lift up on it. So you lift up for reverse, lift up for neutral, lift up for first, and you'll see that, well, first or third, depends if you're reverse valve body on your gearbox, which I am. So that will be first for me. And you'll feel the shifter drops back down. So that's first, then you'll have second, which is ratchet motion. Third, ratchet motion. Back to second, ratchet motion. Back to first. Now also, from first, say you pull up at the traffic lights or you need to bump it into neutral, you can actually go up into neutral without having to pull on the stick. So, back into neutral at a red light, say. Back into first, say into third. Very simple to use, there's no little stick you have to play with the other ones. I really like it. So one thing though that I'm going to have to get used to is you can go up into neutral, which what that is there, but you actually can't come out of neutral to go back into reverse. You've got to go into gear, which is first gear for me, or top gear if you're, or third gear if you're in normal pattern valve body. Then you've got to go up, there's neutral, up, reverse up, park up. So yeah. That little bit where you got to go back to first to go back up into park. That's probably not so bad. It's something I'll get used to, but yeah, overall very happy with how it looks. The boot gets a little bit stretched all the way forward. gets a little bit stretched, but still seems to work quite well. It's all solid. And yeah, I don't like the gear knob. I'd rather get something that suits the interior, but we'll see how we go. That'll wrap up this video installing that B&M shifter. I'm stoked with how it turned out. It actually looks really good. I have done installs on shifters before where I've just gone and used the manual style boot to surround the shifter, and this time stepping it up using the factory plastic auto part. Definitely, I like the finish. It definitely suits it, especially when the car is going to be registered as an automatic. So you know, the police look in there, it's pretty well looks legit. I am going to change that gear knob. Not happy with that. I need a black or a silver one or something like that, something less leery. But yeah, if you like what you're seeing, and you know, I do go into a fair bit of detail to try and help you guys out, just so it makes it super easy if you're going to go and put a shifter into your car. But if you like that sort of stuff, hit the like button. If you want to see more sort of detailed work on these cars, subscribe and hit the little bell and it'll notify you when my next video is out. Like I was saying in the video, I couldn't put the engine and gearbox in this car because I was simply waiting to get the hole saw under there to drill that hole for the grommet. So now that is done, the next video will be putting the Turbo 400 onto the LS motor and yeah, sliding that engine in, which will be good to look forward to. And I've also noticed that the SS build seems to get a lot more attention on YouTube through the searches. I'm no expert on setting up the search, what words to put in, but the SS seems to get a lot more. So if you like this sort of stuff, the Turbo LS builds and everything like that, go to my YouTube homepage and have a look at the other build that I did, my Turbo Tonner. Look for the playlist, go through there. I think there's like 15 episodes on that car, and it's pretty interesting stuff too, pretty detailed. So if you like that sort of stuff, head over there and have a bit of a look around. So yeah, but until next time, that'll do, and I'll catch you later. Have a good one.